let's do some, right? If say our input is minus 128, in this case, this is smaller than 0, and we make a reverse of it, we cannot do that because our operation system don't allow us to store a number greater than 127. Okay, just example. Okay, like for a 16-bit system, you obviously can store way bigger, but still have this same limitation. Like the negative one number should always be one bigger than the positive number. So this makes our function broken, right? Like you cannot reverse it because there's no way you can represent that big of a positive number. So we want to make change to our code to handle this case. All right, so instead of reversing the number entirely, all right, if we detect the number is negative, we will extract each of single digit separately rather than reverse it, then extract. Like the original solution here is we reverse it first, then we use the do while to extract each single number separately. However, what we could do is we don't do this step, rather we reverse it over inside here. All right. So this is our goal for our first exercise. Yeah, so for 32 bits of system, you obviously can represent a way bigger number, but you still have the same problem. You cannot simply just reverse this number into the positive 3, 2, whatever, and to the 8. You can only to the 7, right? All right, so here is a template you should work on. First of all, what you want to do is because we're going to reverse each single number separately, that means we will need to convert each single number separately into this positive number, right? If we still use this if-else statement, it might be a little bit too tedious in the code. So instead, we define a function. All right, we define a function called absolute x, and then you need to figure out how this function should be made. Remember using this question mark thing, right? Question mark, the statement question mark and the statement expression 2 and expression 3. Then you want to use that form to come up with this function. And don't worry about the main function I already provided to you, all the everythings. And what you need to do is to update this I2A function. So inside this I2A function, you want to extract every single number first, and then you convert it to character after you apply the absolute value. Right, so this is very similar to the previous one, but except you want to extract the number and then getting the positive afterwards. All right, then if the original number was smaller than 0, you add a minus sign back to the string. And again, don't worry about the reverse function, which is already provided. All right, so let's give a try of this function, this exercise. I would say, yeah, first figure out this absolute function, how to make it work, and then here, how to fill out this new I2A function. All right, please go ahead. All right, let's look at the how to make this absolute function. Anyone has any thoughts on how to make this function work? How to define this function, absolute function? Sorry?
Is there a return type as integer?
Yeah, yeah.
Then an integer as the parameter in there. And one if condition, if n is less than 0, then we can just assign it as n is equals to minus n.
Yes, but do you know how to write it in a compact form? Remember, we have talked about the question mark. Then, yeah, we want you to write it in the compact form here. All right, so on the top here, this is the more compact form of how this function should roll. Like here, you don't have to do the integers and the number name of function, that something. This is called a macro. So it's like we use a compact expression, right? So the only statement you're going to run inside this function is just this: x greater than 0 or not, either a return x or return minus x. All right, so this will become very handy later on because we're going to use it up down here. All right, so in our new I2A function, we will break out every single number, right? So remember last time we were breaking out, this was in case this is minus 127, right? So here we'll give you minus 3, and you take absolute value of it. That's give you 3, right? And then you repeat the same addition. This process is the same as the example we have looked at, except we will take the absolute value of every single digit from it. Right, and then the same thing we just applied. The remaining part is the same. Again, everything is very, very similar to the original version, except we don't reverse it, and we don't reverse the whole number. We reverse every single digit separately. All right. Again, yeah, I really hope you can give a try at least. Even you didn't make it work or not. Just watching it, I would say you might only learn 10% of it, right? If you trying to program it, you learn about 30% of it. What's the best way to learn, right? Even better than practice. Well, at least from one article I heard, like even better than practice is you make a mistake, and you feel very bad about this mistake. You will learn way more from it. Yeah. That's why we need exams. Yeah. All right. So in these two examples, we already provide you with the reverse function, but it worthwhile for you to understand how the function works, right? So basically, it's just reversing the string in the opposite direction. So let's look at how it works. Here, down over here. So we will have this input string, right? Again, because we're handling this string, which is an array, we don't need to return anything. Then we defined three things. One is the swapping character, it's a temporary character. The other two are index, all right? And inside this for loop, we are tracking two positions. One is from the beginning of the string, one is from the end of the string, right? So I is tracking the end of the string and the j is tracking the beginning of the string. And then as long as the one is still greater than another, you will like make them closer to each other, right? And for every character you identified, you swap them. Obviously, for you to do the swapping thing, you have to save one of the character temporarily in your C value, right? So you use this C value to save the temporary number for the character in the I position. Then you save this J over to the I, and then you save this C back to the J, right? All right, again, this is a very useful one, and also give you a good example of how to use this for loop with comma in between, right? So it's having two numbers changing in the same loop together. Yeah, that's a good question. Like you can take a macro as like a simplified function. It often has only one operation inside. In this case, we have like one statement and one condition and one operation. It's often used to do a lot of repeated work, right? In this case, I mean, instead we could if else statement here inside, right? But this will only make our function less readable. Sorry? Do anything? Turn. Oh, return. Yes, it will return X back.
Saying like void or int before.
Yeah. So that is like we'll talk about macro later, but for now, just by looking at this example, right? So your output is basically the X itself for the input. All right. Yeah. So you're just making some changes to the X value.
Basically checking X, if it is greater than 0, then the other condition after question mark is implemented, right?
Yeah.
And then if it is false, then after the semicolon would be integrated.
Yeah.